Okay, so you can hear me, Marcia?
I hear you great. And we're back from a little break. And we're going to pick up. Sean just got his doctor in Fremont. And
Right.
he said, let me tell you. And you were going to tell us about the doctor.
Yeah. Now, this guy, this is all he's done his whole career is hernia mesh repairs. And I mean, when I walked into his office, I mean, I knew I was in the right hands. I mean, he's got sports jerseys up from the San Jose Sharks, from the San Francisco 49ers, from, Golden State Warriors. So, I mean, if these top dollar athletes trust this guy, and they're so happy afterwards that they sign a jersey for him and he's got it sticking up on his wall, uh, I knew I was going to be in good hands.
I'd be good
And
right at that point.
yeah,
You
so I
work on
go in there.
athletes, you work
Yeah,
on
yeah,
me.
yeah. And like I said, I picked the best in the country. I want the VA to pay for every bit of it. So when I get in there, uh, he takes my history and I tell him, look, I've got three real big concerns I've been having all these years. Number one, if I, eat more than one big meal a day, I get this intense pain in my, abdomen, kind of like right in this area and in this area, you know, mostly down here where that patch was. But I mean, it would cause the whole right side of my guts pretty much to hurt. So I said, number two, anytime I have, uh, and again, folks, we're adults here, so bear with me. Anytime I ejaculated, I had intense stabbing pains. And I mean, it was every time. It was by myself with somebody else. So when you think of being intimate, it's supposed to be the most pleasurable thing there is. You know what I mean? For me, it was being in a torture chamber. And it
I
was like
can't
that
even
for
imagine.
15 years of that. And number three, I said that one should be obvious to you. I'm walking on this cane. I have, intense pain in my groin and in my thigh. My thigh sometimes will shake to the point where my leg will give out on me. I said it hurts to even try and put weight on my leg. I mean, I've pretty much just got to balance myself on my left leg and my cane like this, and not really put anything at all on my right leg. And he said, all right. He said, well, I know what the cause is of all this, but I can tell you, but it'd be a lot better if I show you while I'm doing the operation. I'll take pictures and you know I'll go over that with you at another time. And I was like, well, all right. When can we do it? He said, as soon as you want to go. I said, all right. And he said, I can get you in a month. So a month later, this is November 2019, and again, this whole process, I'm worried. I mean, this is here we go. Is this one going to turn out all right? Am I going to turn out worse? Was that VA doctor? Were they right? Am I going to lose my right testicle? So many things were going through my head, and but I knew that I just could not keep going the way I was going. And to make matters worse, another stipulation of me getting my pain meds back previously with the VA was that I had to be in pain management. Now, pain management at the VA, they need to change the name of it because it's not pain management. All they do is kind of find more ways to screw with you. And this pain management doctor I had, he'd start cutting my medications. I mean, every month I'd be on the phone with him because they're finding new ways to try and cut my meds down. And I hadn't had my surgery yet. So
You
I'm
know,
like,
they
you
did that
guys
with
are,
everybody out here too,
yeah,
Sean.
you
That
guys are
wasn't
trying to,
particular. That
well,
wasn't
and I mean,
particular.
but the thing is, it might be in civilians out here, but it's people at the VA too. And if it's happening just here in our area, it's happening all across the country to people who are in pain. You know what I
That's
mean?
what I'm saying. And really, I think the orders came down from on high
Might
because,
have.
excuse me, up to that point, they'd been passing them out like M&Ms.
Right.
No problem.
Yeah.
Take as many as you need till you get out of pain. Okay. You
Well,
know,
and a lot of that's because of what happened if you see document or if you see shows like Dope Sick or if you should see, you know, other documentaries about what opioids have done to working class communities. But I mean, there's a reason why people use opioids. Opioids work. I mean, say what
they
you want,
work.
they
They
work.
make they take away the pain.
They do.
There
And
was a guy in Merritt, Georgia. Actually, it's happened in Smyrna, which was right next door. And it was when they started doing that and jerking everybody's pain meds. And this is just a regular Joe guy, not, he'd never been in any getting high kind situations. He was married and had a couple kids. And it threw him for such a loop that he got in his truck and tried to run through the front door of Rite Aid to get his
Yeah,
medicine.
yeah, yeah,
And this is a guy who had never caused any problem in his life with anybody.
yeah. There's
You
a
know,
good movie that I love it. It's called Article 99, and it's about these two actually good doctors at this fictional VA, but they're actually trying to do the right thing for patients. And instead, Article 99 is this fictitious, law at the VA where it's deny, and hope you die. And there's a lot of vets that
oh,
that's what we say about the VA. That's what their treatment really boils down to: deny, and hope you die. But in the movie, a guy did the same thing. I mean, he needed heart surgery or something. They denied it, so he got in his truck and drove his truck right through the front of the VA, and then start acting like he was having a heart attack just so he could get surgery. You know what I mean?
love it.
And and you sit here and laugh, but really it's not far fetched. I mean, some of the horror stories that I know that I went through myself, but that I know other vets have gone through with the VA.
And it's sure not funny,
It's not
They
funny, but what can you do? I mean, as crazy as this world is, a lot of times I laugh at things that are inappropriate to laugh at. It really shouldn't, because I've got two choices. I can either laugh or I can just internalize
cry,
that to anger. And if I
cry. Yeah,
if no, I don't cry. I mean, we don't have. I don't have.
I don't have that
I
anymore
skip
either.
crying. I go to anger. I have either laughing or anger. Those are my two. Those are my two modes, right? So anyway, getting back to the story though. Yeah, I mean, wherever the orders came from, it could come from on high or whatever. The point being, this is just another example to me of how the government is, abusing people who are coming to them for help, and who their job is to take care of vets and people who are hurting and in need and have sacrificed for the nation or whatever. You know,
Especially, yeah.
that's what they're supposed to do. Not come up with yet another way to jerk them around. So I was really at the point where if I don't get surgery, they're just going to keep hassling me, and this is going to keep going on, and they're going to keep coming up with ways to try and, yank my comp and pension, or yank my pain meds, or they're just not going to be satisfied till either, they put me on the street, or I check myself out. And I said, I am not going to let these bastards win. So
Praise God.
I got to the point where I'm like, look, all right, let's do this surgery. Let's go. So I get there, get the surgery done, and I think I sent you these pictures as well. I don't know if I have or not, but the doctor calls me up afterwards, and of course he sent me home with all these pictures too. And when I got home and when I healed up a few days later, he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go over all this with you." And if we go to picture 3, and again, my first complaint was that if I ate more than one meal a day, I have intense pain in my guts and in my groin area. Now, if you look at that third picture, look at the right side of that mesh patch, and that, by the way, that you're looking at in that third picture there, that's the actual mesh patch that they put in you. See, it's supposed to lay flat. It's supposed to lay flat against somebody like that. But mine wasn't sutured up correctly, of course, because that doctor I had in the army was about a quack. So where it wasn't sutured up right, over time, that thing becomes distorted, as you can see that is there. So you get
Yeah, it's
one end
bent
that,
around.
yeah, one end's poking me up in my intestines, the other end here, and he said that's why you can only eat one meal a day. He said that thing was poking, there in your intestines and everything, and you're trying to digest your food, and it's it's hitting against that mesh patch. Said the other end, he said, and if you look on the left, you see how they kind of cut it, kind of two little small circles joined together there. He said that end they have to fit around your spermatic cord and your vas deferens. And he said, over time though, that shrinks. So if this is your spermatic cord and they've cut it like this, over time it'll shrink up on it like that. So This was
And
actually
just,
cutting in.
oh,
It was strangling my spermatic cord for 15 years. He said that's why you had pain when you had sex, because your spermatic cord that delivers all your ejaculate. And
right.
if that's getting strangled, he said that's why you were having pain. And then he said, number three, he said, and this is where all your leg pain came from, and the leg weakness and all that. And if you go into picture two, if there's any way we can zoom in on that a little bit so people can really get a good look at this. And of course, we can't see the writing on here,
No, we
but
can't see the writing, but
if you could see the writing, there's that first white block there. Look to the left of that, you'll see a little purple line, and now that black right there is actually a suture that
yes.
that the army doctor all them years ago put right through a nerve that runs from my groin to my thigh. And if you go over to the next one, the next picture, the very first picture. Now, if you look at this picture, you can clearly see it there too. And that's my spermatic cord stuck to the mesh with another suture through it.
Oh my
So he
God.
put a suture through a nerve and he put a suture
He
through a
was a
spermatic
butcher.
cord. Yeah. And the thing is this guy's still in Florida putting stents the wrong way in people's hearts and screwing them up. He's still got his job. He's still got his career. He's still making a boatload of money. His life
Yeah.
didn't get ruined, obviously. you
And
know,
so many people's did. So many
and
veterans.
so many veterans. Who knows how many other veterans that he butchered while
Right.
he was there?
Oh,
Who
surely to God,
knows?
you're not the only one.
I know I'm not the only one. I know for a fact. But this is how the government does it. They'll take a civilian doctor that's got dings on their record that they know can't operate in the civilian world for a while, and they'll tell, oh, hey, why don't you come sign up in the military, be a doctor for us. Here's a signing bonus for this, this, and this. We don't care what your record is. Or the VA will do the same thing. That's why if you check out most doctors, and I mean doctors in quotations, that work at the VA, very few of them, if you look up, their actual certifications, are actually MDs. Most of them are DOs. And now my brother's an actual MD at John. He went to John Hopkins, and now he's at the Mayo Clinic. He's an actual MD, and he says we look at DOs like they're quacks, like they're not even really. They don't go through all that we go through to be MDs. So they don't even really have real doctors working at VAs and whatnot.
Well, I don't want to go to MDs. I want to go to DOs.
Well,
There-
there's good and bad anywhere. There's probably some good
Anywhere.
DOs, but
Yeah, but I'm just gonna I
for
don't
what
want to
I'm
cast
saying,
a shadow on all that like
no. But
that.
I mean, in my experience, and again, we got to turn this to my experience here.
Yes.
I would have preferred to see somebody who actually knew what the hell they were talking about all these years, and not, you know, not what I was handed or had to deal with. So
Well, yeah,
anyway,
maybe. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. You probably with the situation you were dealing with, an
it would have
MD
helped to have
was.
somebody who knew what they
Yeah,
were doing for
yeah.
sure. So anyway, well, I get home, I start healing up, and I've got all this paperwork now that proves that I was right. So guess what the first thing I did was? Me being the smart ass that I am, I went and made copies of all of it. I went to one doctor here at the VA that said it's impossible, you're in this much pain, you're faking it. I had them make copies of it, and I watched him put it right in his little mail basket. I said, you put it right in there. I mailed it to every other doctor in the VA that said this shit. I said, do you still think I'm making it up now, asshole?
Right.
Made copies of all the rest of it. And boy, Aaron and Doug Lamoff's office come through for me again. They said, we've got this lawyer for you. We really think he'll help you get everything straight with the VA. So here we go. Now things are starting to turn around for me, right? I'm feeling good.
Yay.
Then COVID hits.
Oh my gosh.
Just as I'm starting to heal up, looking forward to getting back out there finally, you
Right.
know, and starting to enjoy life again. I've been cooped up inside now for 15 years. Now I can finally start getting back out. Nope.
No. Oh
Especially
my
not in
gosh.
California. Here comes COVID. Guess what? stay at home because we're locking
It was
everything down
insane
for
here.
3 years. Oh my God. If
It
that's
was so
not the
insane.
ultimate, like there's some, something cosmic out there with a sense of humor. Boy, let me tell you.
I have to believe that, Sean. I have
uh,
to believe
I
that.
do too, because if not, if whatever's out there is like the what we've got leading us here on Earth, then we're all in trouble, big trouble.
Right. But I don't think that's true. Which
Well,
brings us around
that remains to be
to
seen.
your redemption.
Well, we're getting there. We are getting there.
Okay.
We are getting there. Because, like I said, now I've got this lawyer, supposedly, that's supposed to be, getting me what I'm owed. But here's the catch: if you're a member of the government and you're injured by another member of the government, there's something called federal tort laws, and it falls under something called the Ferris Doctrine, F-E-R-E-S Doctrine. And what that states is that, like I said, if you're a member of the government hurt by another member of the government, you can't sue them or the government. And for the longest time, this was completely in effect. But in about 2020, it got revised a little bit so that you had 2 years from the date of discovery of what your issue was to be able to file a claim. So me, I'm looking at all this and I'm like, okay, well, I got fixed in 2019. I've got till November of 2021, to get this filed. And my understanding was this hot shot lawyer that they hooked me up with, you know, he's got it. He's going to have all this taken care of. I mean, I'm still calling him though every month nearly, right? And then every week because he's not wanting to pick up his phone. And I got to talk to this secretary, and then this secretary, then this next secretary, right? So finally, I get him on the phone, and it's a week before, the deadline runs up. And he was like, "Oh, but when I talked to you, I didn't know you were at 100% yet. So I thought we were going to be filing you to get your back pay and all that. And when I told you that figure that I gave you, that's what I was planning on. But I didn't know that you were all right." I'm like, "How did you not know I was already at 100%? Um, uh, not total and permanent, by the way. It was TDIU, which is total disability to individual unemployability. Your veterans out there listening to know it, but basically that's kind of like they think you're messed up, but you're not totally messed up yet. They want to still call you in for reviews and whatnot. So anyway, make a long story short, this guy botched, me trying to get any kind of justice at all through the government. I mean, completely botched it. He sat on my case because he had the wrong information. And again, lawyers and doctors, there's a reason why both of what they do, they call it a practice, because none of these people know what they're doing, in my opinion.
Exactly.
None of them. None of them. And all they're going to do is they're like most human beings. They're going to look for the road to least resistance to get the most amount of money.
Right.
That's what they're going to do. They don't want to do any actual work. They don't want to do what's actually going to help somebody. They want to do something what's going to get them the biggest pay. So yeah, this guy sits on my case. The time runs out. And this whole time I'm like, well, shit. There went my chance to get what I thought I was owed. So now just let me take my chances with the VA again. And the way I was looking at it was, well, the best way it could have turned out was if he actually filed something and you got paid, 500K, 600K. I said, now I'm looking at the worst case scenario, and that's being 100% total and permanent, not having to worry about getting called in for reviews or any of that, for the rest of my life. But my big thing is I finally wanted a piece of paper or something from the government with them acknowledging, hey, we fucked up. Here you go. You know,
Right.
just admit it.
That's
Just
not a
admit
lot to ask for.
just admit to me that you all fucked up. You ruined my career. I mean, and that mesh patch you put in me, and since it's, and here's another kicker that old Bill Brown told me. He said if they would have took care of you in 2010 when you first went into that surgeon, he said you'd be 100%. He said you'd have been right back to your old self. He said where they waited so long, he said you've kind of got a condition kind of like people who have phantom limb, where they have, if they lose a hand, they still feel pain in their fingers or things like that.
Oh
He
yeah.
said, and the reason is when you're in pain for so long, it completely rewires your brain. He said, so your brain is wired to feel pain for the rest of your life. You're going to be in pain the rest of your life. And he said, and that's just the way it is. And then he said, number two, he said, where that patch had sat so long strangling your, you know, spermatic cord and your vas deferens, he said, most likely it's led to sterility. So, yeah, took my
Oh,
career, took my ability to have kids. I'm pissed off. I'm not.
I
I'm
don't
not
blame
very
you.
happy, and maybe now people understand why I had my chance to free myself the last time we tried to do part two, and I just let it all fly. Because I mean, if you're me, you understand. It makes sense why. I mean, I just carry this anger right towards them, and I mean, but
Well, and
anyway,
yeah, it's time to let it go and move forward. And
maybe. But I mean, there's things you can let go, and there's things you ain't gonna be able to let go. You know. There's things you just got to carry around with you and you got to deal with the rest of your life. But and you can either let it consume you or you can turn that into something. And me, I use anger as a
well,
motivator.
I think I think you have to integrate it so that it becomes a part of you
Exactly what you got to do.
and not a
You
separate
control it,
thing.
not let it
Yeah.
control you.
Yes,
And
it
again, like
becomes
I
a
was
part of you.
saying,
Yeah.
if you can use anger, anger is a hell of a motivator. Anger gets shit done. It really does.
If
So
you know how to channel it,
if you
it
can
is
channel it and turn it around to work for you, you can get shit done. And that's what I did.
absolutely
I went right in and started. I mean, okay, now this is the game. I've got to beat them one more time. I got to file all these claims with the VA. And the rep I had wound up, moving, and I got stuck with this new kid. So I wasn't very impressed with him at first. And I was telling him what I was like, no, look, dude, I filed all this stuff before. I got my 100% TDIU. I said, I know what to file. You got to file like this, this, this. He wanted to go a different way. I'm glad he wound up listening to me because 6 months after we filed, and this is beginning of last year, Uh, no, beginning of this year. I forgot. This is 2023 now. So February of this year, I got my paperwork saying, we've increased your rating here, we've increased your rating here, we've increased your rating here. We're giving you special monthly compensations due to, the mesh patch, due to, these nerves happen to be sacrificed and cut out of you, which was another thing. When he took that mesh patch out of me, there was 3 nerves that had fused to the patch, along with, my spermatic cord that had scarred to it. He freed that up, obviously, but he had to cut out like 2 or 3 nerves that were stuck to it. So the VA finally acknowledged that, hey, that guy really screwed up that operation in '05. So they
right.
gave me that. They gave me the total and permanent. They gave me the special monthly compensations. Nobody hassles me at the VA anymore because they know they've drove me crazy enough. And they know
Here it comes.
I'm not going to take their shit the minute they start in. They might as well just call security because I'm going to start flipping out. And believe me, they've had to have security drag me out of there 2 or 3 times. And I don't care. I'll flip out on them again. I don't mind. They've caused me enough pain and suffering. This time, I'm going to let them hear it when they start trying to do it again. So anyway, that's how all that went. And now I'm at a point in my life where, do I really want to stay here in California? No.
Well, it
No.
hasn't been a very good experience for you.
No, not I wouldn't say that. I mean, this is a beautiful area. I've met some good people, you know. So it's not that I'd say it's not a good experience. You're going to have bad and good experiences in life wherever you go. I mean,
Right.
it's foolish to think that,
The
no
place.
matter where you go, you're going to find some kind of paradise where nothing's ever going to bug you. There's going to be things that going to bug you no matter where you go. I mean, my big thing, reason for wanting to come here was I didn't want to see any more hurricanes. But then I get out here and now we got wildfires. So I mean,
Right.
so
But
it's
we got
anywhere you go.
cannabis. But we got
Well,
cannabis.
and other places have that now too that don't have all the craziness we have here, and we've got
That's
more
true.
craziness here than I see any state in this. Well,
Absolutely.
California and New York are in a race right now for which one can be the absolute dumbest state in the nation. So, and I mean,
You're absolutely right. I just can't even believe. I remember we were the strongest middle class in the world when Reagan was governor.
And not only that, but go ahead, yeah. But,
Well, look at it now. I
oh yeah.
mean,
And not only that, but I mean, you can look at places like Berkeley. Berkeley used to be a bastion for free speech, and now
yeah,
they actively cheer on silence and speech that they don't like. And I mean,
the
that's
ones
going
they
on
don't like.
the
Yeah.
ones they don't like, and guess who that is?
Da, da, da.
Now, I've said before that I don't like labels, and that's true. I really don't like being labeled anything. But if there's two labels that I will self-apply, one of them's being a rebel, and that's not hard to understand why. I listen at my accent. I'm a good old Virginia boy. I'm gonna be a
Yeah.
rebel until the day I die.
You're
Number
a
two
yeoman
is
farmer.
as an iconoclast. I oppose whatever the establishment is. And when I was growing up, the establishment was hard right, Christian conservatives and preaching and all that, and I oppose that. When I grew up in Virginia, I was around, country boys. My way to rebel against that was to, dress black, talk black, listen to rap music. It's just in my nature. My nature is to oppose whatever those in power around me are. I'm against
Gotcha.
them. That's what I am. I am a rebel to the truest sense of the word. Don't matter
Right.
what it is, I will rebel against it. The more somebody tells me not to
I
do
haven't
something,
seen anything that is not worth rebelling against now. I
all of it.
imagine, yeah,
I
it's
mean,
all corrupt as shit.
everything, everything.
Everything, the
I mean,
churches, the medicine, the schools,
every bit of it.
the,
And let's take this one by one because I mean this all needs it ties in. It really does. All of this ties into why I wanted to take control of my health and use cannabis and why I moved out here originally. you know, and it gets back to the theme of all this. The government wants you subservient to them. They want you on your knees to them from cradle to grave. Look at what they're doing to children. I mean, out here in California now, they've just passed it where if parents deny the gender identity of their 5-year old now, they
right,
can't they can't drive a car, they can't rent an apartment, they can't buy booze, they can't buy cigarettes. But if a 5-year-old stands up and says, "I want to cut my junk off," if you don't agree
it's
with that,
crazy.
the state of California is going to take your children from you.
Yes, they are.
That's what the state's going to do. Now, and then look at church. I see so many churches nowadays who are, going completely against what the book teaches as far as what marriage should be between a man and a woman. You know, they're openly accepting all this gender craziness when God created man and woman in his own image. He didn't create
Right,
man, woman, non binary, tranny, all this other crazy stuff. No, all
right.
that other stuff is an invention of very sick, deluded people who, some reason, we're we're listening to or we're letting dictate,
Right.
how we live our lives. And then you look at medicine, and this is the big one for me. And who knows if I didn't go through everything I'd went through, I probably who knows if I'd have let them, put that jab in me or not. But I know after listening, to them say, "Oh, this mesh patch, it can't be that. It can't be our doctor. We didn't hurt you. Oh, it's FDA approved. OxyContin can't be bad for you. It's not addicting. It's FDA approved.
Right.
All this.
And the
Oh, here's
doctors are giving it out like
yeah, they're
M&Ms.
they're giving it out like Tic Tacs, and then here the COVID jab. Oh, come on, get you a COVID jab. We'll give you a cheeseburger. We'll enter you into a lottery. We'll the way they had to bribe and coerce people to getting this jab. And then when that
Yeah.
didn't work, they started, well, we're going to take your jobs. You can't go back to work if you don't get it. I mean,
Yeah.
this is what we're up against, people. It's not just me that they've done this to. And the more time goes by and the more I read of young kids, 18, 17, 16, having heart attacks, playing sports, I
It's
didn't, that,
frightening.
that was a rarity if it even happened when I was growing up. And now you see people in the NFL, you know, collapsing on the field. Soccer players in Europe collapsing on the field. 17-year-old kids dying, dropping dead from a heart attack because the FDA pushed this poison on them and told them it was safe and effective. So,
It's crazy.
but this is the world we're living in. And my message to people out there is You know, if you don't stand up for yourself and for your family and for your loved ones, you're going to get to a point where I am, where it's just me. It's just me. They've took everything else from me. What else are they going to take from me? I don't want to see anybody I care about get to that point where they've actually had things taken from them by these corrupt assholes. You know,
Yeah. Well, we want it to stop because it's out there.
it is out
And,
there, and
and they've hit almost every family in one way or another, in one arena or another. If they didn't hit you in medicine, they turned your kid into a unicorn or something,
yeah, a dinosaur.
a kitty, and pee in the kitty litter. We're going to take one more break.